Hey everyone, and welcome to the Perfect Bite podcast, your fusion of food and entrepreneurship. You'll hear stories from chefs, restaurateurs, CPG brands, and more from the food and bev industry. All of them are at different points in their journeys, talking about their experiences and how they've cooked up something new. Let's dig in. Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Perfect Bite podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Perkins. What if you could create the perfect experience and speak with each customer uniquely every single time? Sounds impossible and not scalable, right? Well, thanks to Panso, now you can. Panso is a new platform in the hospitality CRM space that gives you a 360-degree view of each customer. As a marketer who works with folks in food and bev, I can tell you that Panso is a dream come true. And I can't wait to nerd out on all of its capabilities with our guest today. Please welcome founder and CEO of Panso, Britney Ziegler. Hi, Britney.
Hey, Sarah. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm so excited to chat with you.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. You have lived such a life already. You've had such an amazing career journey. I can't wait for everyone to hear about this.
Thank you. Yeah, it has been quite the journey.
You're like, yes, it has. Sometimes tiring, I'm sure, but probably very, very fulfilling.
Yeah, most definitely. There's a bit of that purpose inside of me that keeps me going and fuels every day in the work that I do. So without that, I actually think it would be tiring. But with that, it keeps things very exciting and interesting for me.
I'm glad. That's what happens for the best entrepreneurs. So you're only going to be successful from here.
Thank you.
All right, Britney. Well, I always like to take things back to the beginning here. When did you first fall in love with food? And what were your favorite foods as a kid? What was food like in your household growing up?
Okay. So I believe I fell in love with food before I actually have memory of food. And I know that because my mom tells me that ever since I was a young child, she had always said, you're going to become a chef. And that was because of my affinity to food. And when I was old enough to communicate back with her, I would say, absolutely not. That is not what I'm going to do with my life. But I did end up finding myself in the food space. So growing up, food, I revolved my life around food. Everywhere we traveled, restaurants we went to, I was the one determining where the family went based off of specific menu items. I definitely spent a lot of time in the kitchen cooking with my family. My mom was a single mother, so she was very resource effective and efficient on the types of food she made us, which was lovely because I still make those dishes to this day and they remind me of my childhood and they're very simple. But my grandmother was Turkish, so she came here from Turkey. And so I learned a lot of different cooking techniques with her. And then my other grandmother was, living through the Great Depression in America. And my grandfather was in World War II. So they had a very different mindset on food. And so it was limited, but also nutrient-based to ensure we had all of the proper food groups within our meals. So I was exposed to a lot of different types of food. As my mom and my now stepfather got together, they enjoyed travel and eating out, and I was young and always with them to do that. So I have really fond memories about food.
I love that. And I've got some grandparents who went through similar backgrounds as well. And some of those Depression era recipes are still my go-tos in terms of pancakes because you just don't get any better than simple.
Yes.
And it teaches you very few ingredients, you can make something great.
Yes. And the ability to use canned foods in ways you never would have thought.
Agreed. Yes. And you're like, wow, you can make it better.
Yes, exactly.
So tell us when you did start your career into food here. Your mom saw you in the magic crystal ball here. She knew exactly what was going to happen. And you went down the path that she ended up mentioning. But you were never a chef, correct?
I was never a chef.
Not in a professional sense, but at home.
Not in a professional sense at all. I definitely fancy myself as a home chef. I'm even a part of a cookbook club where we cook and come together I'm not in like a potluck type of way, but we identify a cookbook. A lot of the books I chose were like the Molly Bazes of the world. And then we prepare a recipe from that book. The host gets to like plan the meal based around the dishes, assign everybody a dish to cook, and then we get together. But my first job at 15 was answering phones in a pizzeria. I was the phone girl. And you too?
Me too. Mine was called Ferentino's. Yes, that was my first.
Planet Pizza. So
That's hilarious.
Answering phones, managing the delivery guys, getting the pizzas out. I was doing that at 15 and then went right into waitressing, and I was a server. I straddled the host meet server role. Did that all through college. I actually went to school for hospitality tourism management, which was lovely. Definitely not anything that I do day to day that I learned through school, but that was a nice experience. And then as soon as I graduated, I started in New York City with David Burke, who's a celebrity chef. And I joined his organization really at the infancy and spent the former part of my career wearing multiple hats, mainly as executive assistant for a handful of years, but then venturing into business development and overseeing all of our brands and helped that company grow from about 10 million in revenue to 50. And we had 14 different locations around the country, everything from quick serve to fine dining and nightlife. So it was a really fun experience.
Incredible. How did you make that connection post-college? And tell us what it's like when you're fresh out of college and you're working with someone so established and you've got to, like you said, juggle a lot of hats and balls just like an entrepreneur would.
Yeah, most definitely. I got introduced to the organization through my network. And to this day, I've built everything I have on my network. I've been so grateful and fortunate to have people around me who are excited about what I provide to the industry and be able to open up their doors and connections to expand that for me. And I've really been grateful. And so I got introduced to the company and they hired me. I was answering phones and managing their reservation book. And shortly after, about 6 months, David came to me and said, I'm looking to fill the role as my executive assistant, and I'd love for you to do that. And it sounded incredible. It was like that moment of like, wow, this is an incredibly amazing, shiny opportunity for somebody at such a young age. And I think that speaks volumes to the fact that he saw the work that I was doing and believed in me. And I called my mom at the time and I was like, what do I do? She said, go for it. Like, do it, And so I jumped into that role, and for sure, working directly hand in hand with a celebrity chef is exactly what you would think of it in the movies being like. And that was very eye-opening for me at such a young age. And I don't think I knew any differently. And so I just went through the motions and supported him, and we began to accelerate our growth at that time. So I was exposed to everything from investor meetings to partnerships to new restaurant openings to menu tastings, design meetings, like everything you could possibly think of in a restaurant experience. And that just led me into the possibilities of what could be done and got to know the business intimately at such a young age. And I tend to think I'm a generalist probably because of that role and get to see and understand the inner workings. And I've taken that experience with me to this day.
Yeah. There's such a superpower to being a generalist. And it can feel tough in a world where it feels like everyone needs to be a hyper specialist sometimes. And it's really special that David brought you on that journey and gave you that opportunity to see everything at every single level for you to decide, what do I really like? What do I want to do next? So I mean, you worked with David, which is awesome. You've also worked with Carla Hall, Zach Young, and Molly Baz, as we mentioned. Love her Jardineo. That stuff is so good.
Incredible, right?
I can't get enough of it, honestly.
Thing that's hit the shelves.
I just, like, speaking just of CPG products and hospitality in general, I am so happy we're in a time where there are just such unique, incredible products that are available, whether it's at your specialty food stores or, I mean, I picked this up at a local chain here. So it's awesome to see where people can really go and how they can grow their brands.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. Completely.
What was your work with her? What work were you doing with Carla and Zach and Molly after David?
Yeah. So I worked with Carla Hall for a brief period of time. She opened up her first brick and mortar restaurant in Brooklyn many years ago. And her business partner brought me in really at the early stages of brand development, concept development. So I worked with them for a couple of months in helping formalize what that restaurant idea and concept was. And this was her first coming from being a celebrity chef and opening up a brick and mortar, where in many cases I've worked for chefs who have brick and mortars and then they become a celebrity. So it was a really cool and fascinating journey. An experience I will always remember. We got on a plane and flew down to Nashville and did R&D, and we spent maybe 7 or 8 hours in Nashville, like jumping around, tasting different hot chicken sandwiches and meeting everyone in that area that she knew and wanted to meet her. It was just a really, really special opportunity. Zach and I worked together at the David Burke Group, and so we became fast friends. He's still to this day a very good friend of mine. And he ventured off and started building his own CPG line. And so he had gotten started on Goldbelly and was looking at different partnership opportunities. So when I moved out to the Bay Area from New York, I started my own consultancy, and he and I worked together. And Molly and I got connected when I was at a company called Good Eggs. And so they're an online grocery delivery company out in the Bay Area. And I got brought in. Again, I was working with a celebrity chef out here. Her name's Tanya Holland. And I approached Good Eggs to run out a chef partnership opportunity. And in that conversation, they said, would you like to come in-house and sort of stand up a partnership division for us? And so I did that. And as part of that role, I got connected to Molly, and we built a partnership together through Good Eggs. And she did some really cool activations with us. And she's just a rock star.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the most brilliant people, honestly, to be able to go through life and the journey that she has and allowed food to slot into every milestone. It's just like, impressive.
100%. I mean, all of these folks are so impressive, and so are you. I mean, like you said, you've seen everything on the back end of restaurants and now, other elements of hospitality as well. You're out in the Bay Area. You're in the heart of startup land. What was the aha moment for you for Panso? And what made you say, why this problem? Why now?
Yeah. So I'll take us back to the pandemic days, which were very challenging, sad, thought-provoking moments for me, at least, as for many in the industry. And I realized that it wasn't just the pandemic that caused the strain on our industry, and that whichever way you look at the business model for restaurants, it's challenged. And that got me thinking, okay, well, how can we sustain a restaurant model in a world where a potential pandemic could happen again? Yeah. And so I started to think about a business model, a restaurant concept that focused on sustaining anything that could potentially come its way. And that business model was an omni-channel restaurant. And in my learnings over that period of time, I started to see that the whole industry shifted to an omni-channel business model, and that restaurants that were relying upon reservations had to now do other things to bring revenue inside their four walls. And so I got to the software stack for this restaurant concept and realized I needed 7 platforms to manage that guest experience. And then I started to think, okay, well, this is not just my problem, although I'd like to build a software solution for me in this restaurant concept. I stopped with the restaurant concept and put all my energy into building the software because I knew that it could support the industry. And so to this day, am on a mission to provide a tool that enables restaurants to seamlessly manage the guest experience, but enable them for growth. And that's sort of like this future-proofing idea of restaurants are complex. They are faced with economic, political situations. They are faced with food supply chain issues. There are just so many things that they have to get through and be able to still operate their business, that the software solutions, which now have implemented themselves into restaurants, front, back of house, guest experience, and those solutions need to actually function for these restaurants. And so I embarked on building Panso, which is a hospitality management system in CRM, and we provide the first ever customer 360 so folks can understand the customer across every revenue center within their business. And it enables them to grow through insights that we provide to them. We also provide predictive analytics, suggested communication to drive re-engagement, to build loyalty, to retain the customers that they already have. Because restaurants are always straddling like the customer acquisition versus retention game. And quite frankly, we operate with premium restaurants. The retention game is where all the money lies for them, and that is sustaining their future growth.
My goodness. Truly, this is so brilliant. And I think, especially from that perspective, again, folks know, okay, I have my reservation system. I have my online ordering system. Like you mentioned, during the pandemic, someone might have started a CPG brand as well so that they could continue to be restaurant to table for folks when they actually couldn't come into the restaurant. And you might know how someone's engaging with you on your Instagram, but how is that relating to, say, your email newsletters or how they eat when they come into the restaurant? So I really think this is brilliant to have everything in one place.
Thank you.
I mean,
thank you.
Just so many tools out there. And I think folks within hospitality, if not ever, we're just getting tool fatigue, frankly. There are so many different platforms and they're all very, very disjointed. How are you bringing everything together? How are you playing well with others in the space? And what's your typical pitch like to a chef or restaurateur to say, you really need this? I know you've got everything else, but you need this to really push you forward.
Yeah, most definitely. So first, we operate with premium restaurants. So restaurants who are running not just dining, but they also have a significant private dining business. They're hosting wine dinners or special happenings and offering ticketed sales for those experiences. They have obviously the in-person reservation channel that they're running for dining services. Some of our clients have e-commerce brands. We target on the operator side really the ownership managing director level, but we work directly day to day with the events teams as well as marketing. We have every position utilizing the back end because there's obviously a handful of information, but our platform manages website development. We're combining what happens online to what happens in store. And the back-end management system is a full-fledged private dining booking platform. So end-to-end guest experience for private dining bookings. You can build ticketed experiences in our back-end and promote those on your website. Our CRM is at the core of what we do. And then we have a marketing suite. And so in that marketing suite, you can build email and SMS campaigns and connect with your guests directly. As it relates to playing nicely with others, we absolutely adore this space as a whole, and everybody is interacting with each other one way or another. We don't do reservations and we don't do payments. And so we look at those folks fondly in terms of how we can integrate with them and work together in sharing that customer experience to enable the restaurant operator to have that 360-degree view on their guest. We have a strategic partnership with Lightspeed Point of Sale. We are integrated with Square and Stripe on the payment side, and then we work really nicely with the reservation folks as well. They're our dear friends.
I bet. Yes. And it makes so much sense because then you're able to share this data with each other to only make all of these different tools work together more smartly and stronger.
Exactly. Yeah. Our entire system is built from the ground up and it's proprietary to us. Enabling the front end website experience has unlocked a whole new opportunity for restaurants. Typically, you outsource your website development or you have a designer build that, and then you layer in all of the widgets necessary to operate your business. But in that experience for the customer, the guest who's landing on your webpage, you're quickly bouncing them off to somebody else's platform.
Right.
You lose them from that point on, where the way that we've built our system is everything minus the reservations is taking you to a third party. So you're staying intact on that brand. And once you inquire for a private dining booking, you have the opportunity to then explore other things that that restaurant is hosting. So it's the first time that retention is actually being developed on the website experience, which is very similar to retail per se. Like if you shop at a retail brand, they're not sending you somewhere else to make the purchase. And they're doing that intentionally because they want to understand their guest behavior and be able to create personalized moments. And so we do that for restaurants for the first time.
My goodness. I think it's, again, I keep saying it's so brilliant because you just wish this had always been here. How are you, say, when we're thinking about retargeting folks, I immediately, like you mentioned, go to email and SMS. How are you able to collect that information? Is it then through the reservation platforms that you're integrating with, or how are you able to convince
a couple ways
in this environment?
Yeah. A couple ways. So guests of the restaurant have the option to opt in through the website. And so there are different ways in which they can sign up for communication. We also, as part of our integrations with the reservation platforms, pull that data into our system, and then we can segment specific users. We can segment based off of spend thresholds. There are different ways in which we can target, but we also have the ability on the front end to also prompt really personalized moments to the customer once they access and log into the website. They land on that page. If they attended a wine dinner last week, we might have a message that says, "Thank you, Sarah, for joining our wine dinner last week. We hope to see you soon. Oh, and by the way, we have an upcoming event that we think you'd be interested in." So there's these personalized moments that everybody's striving for it in person, rightfully so. But there's a whole digital realm that also needs that engagement, and that just builds brand loyalty.
Yes, and it's been missing from hospitality. Hospitality has sadly just been so left behind so far in terms of tech. And even though it's such a person-to-person moment and feeling cared for in person, I think there's nothing better than getting a follow-up, say, within a week or two, or maybe it's, really saying, hey, you're a loyal customer. Maybe every now and then you're encouraging them, just like with an e-commerce site, to come back and they get something special the next time that they're coming in. So very much re-engaging, like you said, getting folks in seats more often than they usually are, because it is a tough time for everyone out there. I have heard from many folks that 2025 is starting to feel like 2020 in not the exact same ways, but in just a matter of difficulty of getting folks into restaurants and to be spending.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
It is. we all go through the ups and downs. And so I'm looking forward to when we can keep pushing ahead here.
Yeah, most definitely. And I think there are many factors to that, but you had mentioned like technology hasn't evolved. The restaurant industry is 10, 20 years behind a lot of different verticals.
Yes.
Retail has been an omni-channel business model for 20 plus years. And restaurants are now just catching up to that. And the software that's been provided into restaurants are very focused on one single outcome or solution. And over the years, as the business has evolved, the software platforms have also started to evolve. And so it's interesting, at least from my perspective, when you look at the restaurant industry, it's a trillion-dollar industry in the US.
Yeah.
Each need for a restaurant, depending on the type of tier, like premium or fast casual, fine casual, quick serve, like their needs to operate are not equal or definitely not the same to one another. And so the solutions have to provide a niche for each type of restaurant.
Yes.
And so I think OpenTable's done an incredible job of really servicing the masses, right? Like that's one company that I look at and I am absolutely impressed because you can be any kind of restaurant be on the OpenTable platform. That's very challenging to do in many solution-oriented platforms for the restaurant industry. And so I get asked all the time, like, who is your competition? And are you working with these types of restaurants? And I think that then goes to the investment structure behind building a company, a tech platform, especially in the restaurant space, is to an investor, it's not necessarily an appetizing industry. And then the nuances attached to each of these businesses are really complicated for an average person to understand. And I think having worked in restaurants and not necessarily just being restaurant adjacent, we've built a solution that is nimble for a very specific target audience. And because we are young, have the ability to adjust and change our platform and take feedback and respond immediately and be able to support our restaurant partners in a way that other people can't. And I say this all the time, but like I can have a meeting with a restaurant owner and they can tell me what they need. I might have one or two questions, but I get what they're asking for because I've been in their shoes where I hear from them that they ask for things out of their software solutions that they can't get. Yeah. And I think that speaks to the volume of folks who are building in this space, not necessarily walking the day-to-day of a restaurant operator.
Yes. I imagine that probably is one of the biggest challenges you've faced if you have been having investor conversations, right? Is, you know, they're asking you how big this market can be, and they're also scared at the same time that restaurants can close so easily.
Yeah, I think it's for sure that. I also am faced with the fact that I'm a female building in this space. And that I think is my biggest challenge, quite frankly.
I've been there. I definitely understand.
Yeah. I'm sure you do. Yeah.
Yeah. I attempted my own startup in the consumer space that was tech focused. It was fashion related. And there were a lot of like, well, why is this needed? Or why I'm not part of the market. So why does this market matter? Is that what you feel like you're facing right now in some ways, that they're saying, well, I go out to eat at restaurants, but like, why is this actually a problem?
I think it's more of a bias of the fact that I am simply a woman.
Yeah.
I get questions. Is this a passion project?
Oh, lovely.
Are you full-time on this? Where do you see your life going? Like, is this your only thing? Like questions that I know for certain would not be asked if I was not a woman.
Yeah. Dancing around like, am I going to lose you to you raising a family one day, essentially?
All of those things. And I look young. I'm not young at all. Like, and
You're as young as you feel.
Alone. Yeah, it doesn't bother me. I love looking young, but like that alone, I think, is the first initial reaction. And I've gotten questions from folks who say, you're a first time founder and you've never built a tech platform and you don't have a technological background. And those questions don't necessarily get directly asked of me, but I know that's the thinking behind this. And my only retort to that is everybody is doing everything in their life for the first time, every moment of the day. You've never done it before. So in my mind, to start a company is literally like waking up every day. You have never woken up on this day before, and I have never done what I'm doing today. I've never spoken to you before, but here we are having this conversation. Like, that's the way of life. And I think when people get out of that thought process of like, what does this look like on paper, and start to actually understand like the human behind it, the experience, and then the problem that they're solving, the determination that comes alongside that, and the resilience. Like, I've been at this for years. It has not been an easy process. Yeah. But neither has my life since the day I was born. So that's just the way the world goes.
Yes. And I think, so my partner is, we met through Startup Land. I'm so grateful that even though my startup failed, I found the love of my life as well as many lessons. He's on the VC side of things. He's consistently interviewing different software companies, different tech-related companies. And I would think he would, if he was in the room with me, he would agree that he's always looking at folks who really just have that expertise and really understand the problem first and foremost, rather than if they're technical. As long as you say like, well, I've got X technical co-founder, or this is the team I work with, and they're helping from that perspective, then I think that's less of a concern in a lot of ways, unless your product is like super, super, super technical.
Totally. Yeah. And as it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. So definitely feel you. I'm sorry you're still experiencing that, because I think it's crazy that in 2025, you're seen differently than a man who, say, has just his idea on a napkin, essentially, and he can raise millions. So let's pretend you walk into the Cowboy Ventures office. You're with Eileen Lee, who's like one of my VC dreams, and she's worked with so many women. What would you tell her in terms of the market? What type of numbers are you really going after here?
Yeah, so we have been building this for 4 years now, and the software platform itself has been built off of my experience, but we had a couple early adopters that we've been working with. Now, the way that we look at this platform is we are managing 4 different specific sets of modules. So the replacement of 4 different platforms for these restaurants. And in that, our onboarding process is pretty tight and concise. But as a part of that, we are taking a big chunk of the tech stack for our restaurants. We have plans to expand in a mature way and are looking to have a little over 100 restaurants within the next 12 months on our platform.
Amazing.
And we're being thoughtful on what types of restaurants we work with now. Our onboarding process is extremely white glove. And so we provide a solution that's very different than what a traditional restaurant might experience from a technological partner. And in that process, we learn so much, which helps us improve our product overall. So yeah, I don't know if you want me to get into like specific figures in terms of our financial model. I don't know if I really want to publicize that.
No, you don't have to. I was going to say, but
okay.
For me, I'm hearing
that's what I would tell her if I got into a room. I would walk us through our financial model, but
you'd be like, and here we go. I love that. And
I was like, Sarah, where do you want me to take this?
You're now pitching. You're not getting interviewed. Ready, set, go. No. No, I don't want you to feel that pressure. But I'm excited for people to hear, like, one, you just turned it on. And again, I think that is something that I also experience, and I've seen other women have to do, is like, we know our numbers inside and out. We know what's happening with our competitors. We know the total addressable market. We know every single number. And again, this isn't to poo-poo on every single male founder out there, but there are a lot that I have seen pitching at places and they just don't have a clue. And it's because it's that whole psychological element of, well, you remind me of myself when I was younger. You seem like my son.
Right. Well, for sure.
I could hang out with you.
Interesting. Yeah. And it's interesting because I have taken, right, like the entire tech landscape, they're all after one specific thing. They're all looking at consolidation across every facet of the restaurant business.
There you go.
They want to own the entire consolidation of the tech stack because that helps them with their growth numbers. And we're a big chunk of that portion of the tech stack. And in looking at the industry as a whole, like OpenTable has 60,000 plus restaurants on their platform and their reservations at the core of what they offer. And then you can look at a platform like Triple Seat that has 1% market share with a little over 18,000 restaurants. And it's a big difference, but the reliance upon those platforms from a premium restaurant perspective is extremely heavy. And so to their business models, they're looking at how do they become stickier. And I think just organically, the way in which we built our platform, we are a very sticky platform. And we have onboarded folks over the past, coming out of beta into this year. And all of our clients are utilizing the entirety of our platforms at this point, which has been a slow onboarding process just because of the nature of what we do. But it speaks absolute volumes in terms of what they're getting from our product, how they believe in our product, the services that we're offering, and the type of customer service that we provide to them. I don't think there would be a world where if we operated any differently, that a restaurant would come on, work with us for 6 to 12 months, and then want to work with us even deeper on the other offerings that our platform provides if we didn't function in that way. And that is kudos to my entire team.
Yes, kudos to all of you guys, because what I'm hearing too, if I was in a restaurant operator position, is your business model and how you operate is essentially how you want to work with and how you'd like the premium restaurants that you're working with to operate, which is focus on stickiness. Maybe it's not the highest of volume of transactions or customers or users of your platform, but they're the highest quality. And that's going to result in higher transaction numbers here. So I like that you're doing your slow burn.
Got that right.
I hope so.
Yeah, you got that. You've got that absolutely right. You couldn't have actually said it. I couldn't have said it any better than you just did.
Go ahead and take that. This is just me yapping in my kitchen.
Thank you.
But it just makes me excited that, again, these are the experiences folks remember for the rest of their lives as well, right? When you go to a Michelin-starred restaurant for the first time, or you go out for a special occasion and there's a James Beard-nominated chef behind the scenes, you are willing to pay for that experience. Millennials and younger have only been proven that we focus on experiences over physical items more. So again, folks are willing to pay a premium for something that is a quality experience.
Definitely. Yeah.
So we've talked a little bit about the challenges here of building in tech, what it's like to build in restaurant tech. What would you say are some moments that have been going swimmingly? What are you most proud of, and how are you really picking up traction here?
That's a great question. At different points, looking back on the build of this product, there are a handful of moments I'm extremely proud of. And a lot of that goes to the team that I have around me. We are all industry veterans. We have been working with our development team since day one, and they've embraced the big thinking of where I've taken this platform. We're doing something unlike any other. We're doing it in a very challenging industry. We have had the opportunity to work with incredible partners, and the brain power, the growth in the platform is just unmatched. And I hear it every day when I'm giving demos or when our team is meeting with folks. We open up the dashboard to our back end and the response is wow. And that alone feels so incredible to hear from an operator. I actually was giving a demo earlier this week and they brought me to tears on how complimentary they were of the system itself and said to me, it's been all of your hard work over these years in building this. And I don't know this person. And so to hear that from a peer within the industry who I admire and getting that type of feedback from our partners fuels everything that we do every day. And so it's given us an opportunity, and we've had the luxury of building behind the scenes and really building in quote unquote tech speak and stealth and not really having anybody know about us. And that was intentional. I had somebody early on say to me, like, build this and don't tell anybody. Like, take the Apple route where Apple builds products literally like under the ground and no one knows. And then they announce and there they are. And that's allowed us to really become a product that's, I would say, 2 years ahead of the market and 2 years ahead of our industry, but 2 years ahead of all of the other platforms. And in that, we have been able to onboard folks to the platform that use it, and it's operational and it's functional. And yes, of course, there's bugs and there's things we have to overcome. It's a technology product, but it does what they need it to do. And now we have a system. We have over 500,000 customer profiles in our platform, and we're doing incredible revenue numbers. And we are 85% operator adoption across the platform for our users, and we're managing their front end and 5 back end solutions. We have chefs using it and uploading menus, and we have chefs building tickets to dinners that they're hosting. Like, that just speaks how easy it is to use the system. And sophisticated accountants who are running reports. And now we're at a point where we can actually have really fun in planning what we're going to do with the system going forward. So obviously AI, we're utilizing a handful of functions within the back end powered by AI. And we like to say it's AI driven, but human led. And so it's giving restaurants the information to utilize in a very digestible, consumable way. And then they can determine how they want to engage with their direct contact, which is the guest. And so now we're getting into some really cool automation and reporting functionality and being able to create personalized moments and just really engage more about what the system can do, and really becoming like a single source of truth.
Yeah. And you're beyond that, like you said, the super early days of building. I appreciate how you went about it, where I'm sure you were getting customer feedback as you were in those early days, or I should say potential customer feedback of, hey, how does this look?
In the restaurants with our partners, working next to them, like day to day, every single day of the week.
Wow.
Meeting with every ownership to like floor managers, just figuring out what they needed, what was working, what wasn't working, and took that. And we built the system around that feedback. So of course, obviously with my experience, we built a platform that when I first was presenting the scope to my development team, they're like, Britney, that's not how it's done. And I'm like, that's exactly why we're going to do it this way. And
that's
so
right.
We finally got out of that mindset, and now we have a system that's built like no other. And then being able to actually have it work in an operations, as you know, like that was where all the feedback came. And we spent a year doing that.
Wow. And
so
then you were in that space too, where there's benefit to both ways, right? There's benefit to the slow stealth mode where you're working in tandem with operators. You're really getting everything in place before you open this up to people that you don't know as well. Then there are the other folks who go, I've got this idea. I'm going to put the most beta version out there, and we're just going to test and see from there and iterate. But your version, it's nice because you were learning what you needed in beta behind the scenes. And so you weren't having a bunch of folks going, well, you should overhaul this completely and give me the type of software that I want. And you're feeling that pressure of like, what is the right direction to go here?
It's also not a good experience for an operator.
No.
So that was my mindset. Like, I'll work with people who are in it with us because they know that this is a solution being built for them. But I'm not going to have a product go into hundreds or thousands of operations and have their experience not be a good one.
Yeah.
And so that's, again, speaking to coming out of the restaurant industry and knowing what it's like to implement a system. And our platform is very big, as I've already said. It crosses multiple departments. So there's so many key stakeholders involved and so many systems and operational flows and customer journeys that have to work because it's a module platform, and that touches so many people that the last thing I ever wanted was, okay, let's implement this. And now not only have one person waving their hand because they need something fixed, but having 20 to 50 people, so yeah, it was strategic.
Excellent. Yeah, that is very stressful when you're like, yeah, it looks like everyone wants that thing now.
Instead of as a perfectionist, a recovering perfectionist, yes.
There is that thing. I understand that completely as well, where there's that whole thing of perfect getting in the way of possible, right? And what is the right timing? And really only you are the one. You and your team are the ones who can know, I think this is ready for go. I think this is ready to get it out there to folks. Because again, you will constantly be iterating on some level anyway. And you had a really strong strategy here.
Thank you.
So let's have a manifesting moment before we get to our last few questions here. If you could have any premium restaurant group on Panso, who would you want like tomorrow? Who would be a big moment?
This question. Major food group.
Ooh, okay. Tell us more. Tell us where those locations are. Who's behind this?
Sure. So they have many locations, I believe close to 25 or 26 here stateside. They operate at the highest regard in terms of customer experience, and they have multiple revenue centers within their business operation. They solely focus all of their energy and efforts towards creating memorable moments. And I speak about them because yes, they're a premium restaurant. Yes, they have all of the accolades in the world. And it's not about that. The people behind the restaurant are driving those experiences. And they're the folks, the operators, the chefs who are creating that we must go to Carbone or we must go to Miami Beach, like Carbone Beach.
Yes.
And experience what they're doing. And I think that's a powerful movement in creating a destination, but also creating a lifestyle brand. And I just admire the work that they've done. Now, funny enough, a small story, Mario Carbone and I worked together when I was an intern for OTG Management, which is On the Go. They are the concessionaire at the airport behind the SIBO brand. They opened their first location at JetBlue Terminal 5 in JFK Airport. And I used to commute during the summer while I was in school and work with that company. And Mario was there. I believe he was actually with the Batali Bastianich group at that time, and he was doing recipe development and launched one of their Italian concepts. And he would have me come over and taste test the food. And I remember having his arancini like balls at one point, and I still remember this bite, and it was mind blowing. And now taking my memory back to that moment in time, he may have been creating these recipes for what is now a major food group. And so that connection it's almost nostalgic in a way, because I remember how incredible that was. And to see him and his business partners grow from farm in New York City to this global hospitality company is beyond impressive.
My goodness. One, that could be one of your perfect bites. And he really is such an interesting inspiration for you. He's on my manifestation list too as a guest. So let's say in the next year, we're going to do a live event where it's Panso and the perfect bite, and it's a live show with Mario. It's going to happen somehow. I can't get enough of the sauce. Let's be real. So good. Yeah. So good. Britney, this has been amazing. So last quick question before we get to the world's best and hardest question. What is a piece of advice for anyone who's looking to become an entrepreneur themselves that you would like to share, whether it's in tech, whether it's in hospitality, or any other industry?
Oh, that's a very good question. I don't think it has anything to do with the business itself in terms of like the idea, the product, or the business model. My advice for somebody starting out and building their own company or becoming an entrepreneur is to get really comfortable with, and I say that in a way of knowing your inner child, your inner person, finding your purpose in life, and then being able to build around that. Because quite frankly, in my opinion, I think outside milestones, agendas, thoughts from other individuals driving what you do in your work does not set yourself up for anything sustainable. But if you're having it come from your core and your true self, the natural ebb and flow of that and the opportunities that begin to come your way, you can't get any other way.
It's most authentic. Yeah. Being your most authentic self, focusing on that personal mission. And you said inner child, but I think your actual childhood self probably is very proud of how you got here with food today.
She definitely is.
Oh, Britney, again, sad we have to wrap this up. A little,
Same.
This has been so great. A little reminder for everyone, this is called The Perfect Bite because it's a perfect bite of folks across the value chain of food and bev, but it's also because we all have our own perfect bite. A moment you won't forget, a recipe, or maybe it's just a taco you had on the beach on a beautiful vacation. But something that is completely unique to us and our own taste buds. So, Britney, what is your perfect bite?
Another hard one.
People are like, I love this, but I hate this question. And mine even changes.
Yes, for sure. So my perfect bite absolutely changes because I eat based off of my mood. And I have a very strong sweet tooth, like the sweet tooth that takes a spoon to a vanilla icing tub and eats it straight. I wouldn't say that's my perfect bite, although that's a bite I do often. A perfect bite for me includes a carb in the sense of bread, I would say, with accoutrements to that. So immediately my mind goes to like a bellini with caviar and creme fraiche and like some onions and egg. But my memory takes me back to a moment with my parents. We always used to go to this one specific restaurant because, again, I would tell them we need to go there for this bite. And the restaurant used to serve toasted baguettes, and it was a build your own spread moment, and my mouth is watering as I say this. They would give you roasted garlic. So you would put the roasted garlic on the toasted baguette first, and then goat cheese, and then pesto, and then like a bruschetta topping. And it's the perfect bite. And I still, when I host people over my home, or if I go home, my mom even makes it, I prepare it for others, and it's delicious.
I love that. Oh, that is beautiful. You had a combination of childhood and the premium hospitality life that you went into.
Absolutely right.
I love using roasted garlic like butter. I mean, it's like candy.
Delicious.
I can't get enough of roasted garlic. So I know my mouth is going too. Oh, beautiful. So, Britney, as we wrap up here, can you let folks know where they can find Panso? So the website, any social accounts, and any other venues where we can find you.
Yeah, absolutely. You can find us at hellopanso.com. We're also Hello Panso on Instagram. Our restaurant partners are all across the country, the Veneteria in New York City, Wayfair Tavern in San Francisco, a Riva restaurant in Miami.
Lovely.
Just to name a few.
Oh, thank you again so much for your time. I could truly continue nerding out over all of this with you.
I think I could too.
Everyone, thank you again for listening in. And this was Britney Ziegler's Perfect Bite.
Thanks for tuning in to The Perfect Bite today. You can listen to future episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you listen to podcasts. Thanks in advance for subscribing, rating, and reviewing. You can follow The Perfect Bite on social media at Perfect Bite Pod. Now go get something good to eat.